So I normally would not include a match like this in my review, but I just had to because of this person's name. If anything, I'm going to show you that, you should just be respectful. There's no reason to be disrespectful. And Konami, I don't understand how a name like this makes it through the filter. Regardless, I'm just going to skip to the highlights of this match. So to start things off, we are going to be able to play on turn 0. Obviously, the opponent negates our Maxx C with an Ash Blossom, but they are able to resolve their blue. But playing on turn 0, you can see that we are able to end on a Rook Hallows, which is going to prevent the opponent from going Gigantic Extension, forcing them into Onibimaru, because they're going to remove the Reinhardt from field and then smashers the Onibimaru away, leaving them on nothing in order to banish our Rook Hallows. Pretty good. They get rid of my Rook Hallows, but I also leave them on nothing. As you can see here, my follow-up turn could have easily OTK'd them, but their big brain playing Nibiru in Ishizu Tearlament format worked out for them because they were able to banish my Rook Hallows. But we do end with Kaleido Heart and a pretty big token, and my guess is they're not going to be able to play through my next end board because I have a bunch of traps, unless of course they have evenly matched. So we pass turn over to them. Sure enough, they do have evenly. Not a problem. I still have a big token on board and Grave Shufflers that I could have used to interrupt the Cuirass here, but I opt not to because I wanted to bait them into using Gigantic Sprite, which will lock them into level 2s in order to extend, which means they can't go into Unicorn or anything else. Now, because of that, I don't think you have a way to out this token, even if you went Cat Shark, if you were playing it, which you likely aren't, and if you somehow had Gamma Burst, it's still not enough because Gigantic only gets up to 7800, and once he realizes that, I think he's going to end up being maybe a little heated, but also resign. Mannequin Cat can't do anything because all you can bring back is a Maxx C, and special summon another Cuirass from your deck that you've already used this turn, so they end up scooping. GG's. Not really though. Alright, in this next matchup, we are going second once again with Ishizu Tearlaments, and we'll see what the opponent is on. They are on 48 cards, but I guess, sure, they're on some kind of branded tier variant most likely. Opening hand may not seem the greatest, but because we have the planet, that instantly makes our hand good, and Foolish Burial is also a Sulliek dump, so even if something gets negated, we have follow-up to send Sulliek and search for a Tearlament monster anyways. The Maxx C does resolve though, which makes everything a-okay, because now whatever board they set up, either it's going to have to be tailored back a bit or they're just going to pass on nothing. So the opponent is committing to a bit of a board. They reveal that they are on, or trying to go for, the Buster lock to lock people out of their extra deck, and we're just hoping to draw into a DD Pro then at this point if they are able to somehow set that up. But it looks like they're just going for the Mirror Jade play, which honestly seems pretty weak. I mean, either you full commit under Maxx C, otherwise, look what you gave me in terms of resources to work with, which, didn't draw anything too nutty, but just the fact I can special summon Keldo, pitch the Agido is pretty good. I thought about the sequence of things to do here, and I think technically I should have done this first to mill 5, since keeping these tier names in my deck gives me a higher chance to mill them, versus searching off of them first reduces the chance that I hit one off Agido. So just playing the percentage game is probably a misplay doing like Planet first. I should have probably gone Keldo first, pitching Agido. However, the other side of that is, if you do that and then you start milling, then you start triggering effects, and you may be like, maybe I wished I would have activated Planet first so that I could, when I fuse, I could pop, versus, if I'm just activating the Agido first thing, then I don't have the utility of Planet to pop cards, etc. So there's both sides to the coin of however you want to set it up. But I think we're okay because, we've got Scream and we've got Sharon, so that's going to mill 6. We've got Rhino for the guaranteed dump. So yeah, I think overall we're okay. Now we're going to go ahead and do the dump of Agido, search the Kelbeck. This is important because Kelbeck will allow me to trigger the bounce back of the Mirror Jade here. Like, Branded is so disabled by the Ishizu cards. It's absolutely insane. Just you'll see what happens. So we mill 5, and Branded likes to get milled, so this is good. They reveal, this is a diamond player by the way, they reveal they're on some wacky stuff like DNA Surgery, which really shuts down a lot of decks actually. Yeah, obviously the Buster stuff to kind of Buster lock the opponent, Trap Tricks to search out the Buster traps most likely, and we get a Super Poly off them as well. On our side, we milled the Stein, that's always good. But no names, unfortunately, because again, what I was just saying came true. Searching out and thinning out my deck of the names means I have less of a chance to mill them, so we suffer from that. However, because we were able to mill, we're now going to trigger the Agido. Since we've already used the Agido effect in grave, we might as well just use the one from our hand to special summon it and bring out the Keldo from the grave, right? Just put extra bodies on field. The opponent reveals Ghost Bell to stop it, so that's fine. We bait out a hand trap. They still have their Mirror Jade interruption to banish, and we're going to go ahead now and activate the Kelbeck. We could have activated Kelbeck on the mill of the Agido, but I think I could have chained it still, activating the Agito first to special summon. But because they use the hand trap, sending it to grave, like from hand to grave, that will trigger the Kelbeck again. So now I'm going to target the Mirror Jade to put it back into the extra deck. They attempt to chain the Albion, or sorry, chain the effect to send Albion into graveyard. You know, this will resolve during the end phase to banish what I'm guessing is my Keldo. But of course, with Keldo, I just banish it and to trigger the Grave Shuffle effect, and I shuffle back their Albion that they sent, so they're not going to get that effect during the end phase. Their Despian Tragedy, so that they can't banish it and get back their Branded Fusion next turn, and their Buster Sword, so they can't banish it if they do end up somehow getting a play on board with the Buster stuff. And then they opt to now banish their own Mirror Jade instead of getting it spun back into the extra deck. Because they have no valid targets on my side, they stop the banish, so they either banish their Aluber or their own Mirror Jade. And so just like that, we haven't even used our normal summon yet, by the way, we out the opponent's hand traps and their board and their interruptions at the same time, just by like using like Ishizu cards only. That's crazy. Yeah, you can just play an Ishizu engine if Tearlaments didn't exist and you beat Branded. Like, that's how broken these cards are. But now, of course, we're going to go into the Ishizu package, and we're starting to trigger everything now. And at this point, it's pretty much a wrap. There's so many different ways we can OTK. I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to let it play out. But of course, we're going to start off with the Ultimate Extender in Kit Kalos. Prime candidate to get banned, just like it was in TCG and OCG. We go ahead, mill some more, dump some more, trigger some effects, of course. The opponent reveals Ghost Spell, but we put Kit Kalos on Chainlink 4 because of that. And it, you know, destroy my Kit Kalos? Sure, it's still going to trigger the mill 5. I'm still going to get Root Kalos to field. And you actually did my job for me. Oh no, we don't end up milling 5 because we return the Kit Kalos, and it doesn't even matter anyways because we are still able to flood the field with enough materials to win 2 games over. So I'm just going to go ahead and complete some challenges now, I think. Maybe do some Xyz summoning. Yep, sure enough. Abyss Dweller is also a good option overall, just, you know, preventing the opponent from doing anything from the graveyard. It also boosts up my whole field because they're all waters except for the Merly, which gets boosted by the planet anyways. So yeah, broken as usual. You can't beat Ishizu tier. Alright, in this matchup, our opening hand, double Scream, Merly, Rhino, and Agito. So this is pretty strong, depending on, again, what we mill. But we are going first, which usually means it's a GG's, unless the opponent opens up D-Shifter. But the opponent opts to Ash our Scream. This is why we put Scream on Chainlink 2. We definitely would prefer the Rhino to resolve rather than a random mill, since Rhino is obviously targeted send versus Scream, which is mill. Obviously, the Scream could end up milling really good, but we need the guarantee dump in order to fuse into Kit Kalos. And we dump Merly because, you know, we have Merly in hand already, and that's usually what we search off of Kit Kalos if we don't already have it in hand. And so because of that, we have a less of a chance to mill Merly if we have one in hand, obviously, with only one copy being left in the deck. So that's why we send Merly first, because there's the less likelihood of us milling that versus the Havnis and Sharon, which are usually at 2 up in the deck. However, we do bring Sharon to hand off of the Kit Kalos because we can special summon it and pitch the Agito, which will trigger a total of 8, and we'll trigger another mill 8 off of the Kit Kalos and special summon Merly, triggering their effects as well. So absolutely insane turn incoming for turn 1. So we're going to go ahead and do the mill 8 between the Merly and Kit Kalos combo. What do we hit here? We get a Kelbeck, a Rhino, oh my goodness, a Heartbeat, another Merly, a Havnis Fusion, DD Crow as a fusion material, a Crime that can't be used, and another Havnis. So man, Tearlaments is so broken when you stack the deck with good mills and you go first. Like, it's like, unless you open D-Shifter, man, I don't know why they limited it to 2. Like the card really should be at 3. This is so broken because not only am I setting up an insane board, I'm also going to see what my opponent is on. Imagine playing the hard counter to Tearlament. This guy obviously on like some really hard counter stuff. Raigeki, Duster, Fissure, Macro. Like, he hates Tier, and I understand because I play Floowandereeze on my main account, and I main deck D-Fissure, but you can't stop this. I mean, off of the additional mills here, like, the opponent's going to attempt a Nibiru. Like, look, dude, you're playing Nibiru in this format? Are you kidding me? On the 5th summon, we did bring up Root Kalos, which is usually how it goes, so of course we're going to negate and destroy that. We're also going to trigger the Agito from hand because no need to send it off of Sharon now, since, hey, we milled an Agito, so we're going to go ahead and activate it. We're going to get cards back to hand if we wanted to bring out Sharon, but I don't even think we'll need to because we're pitching Sharon now off of the Root Kalos. So now we go ahead and you search Solik. There's so many effects activating here. It's crazy. We grab Havnis back to hand, and then we are going to continue to mill. Now we're going to link off into Elf, and of course we've milled the Cyberstein at this point because, you know, we've milled over half of our deck pretty much. And then we're going to also go into Abyss Dweller. The opponent is pretty clearly now like on like a I guess partial. It's not like a dedicated Floowandereeze deck, it looks like, but I mean, yeah, obviously they're on some form of Floowandereeze, but they're playing a lot of anti-meta tech options, which is absolutely nuts to me, because Floowandereeze is very bricky. Like, you're really depending on drawing a good hand in order to play, if you're playing all of these like utility cards, and I think you are on 40, right? 26 and 12 and 3, so 41. Yeah, you that's a mistake. You want to be on 40 if you're playing Floowandereeze. Anyways, the Cyberstein grabs an Exteria. We set the crime. We set, so like, what? Like, I've posted videos like this so many times. It's just like, you can't do anything against this board. You can't play spells and traps. I have an Omni Negate and Crime. I have Special Summon Negate. I have Monster Negate. I have Shut Down Your, like, every single thing you try to do. Graveyard shut down by Dweller. Monster Effect shut down by Sullik on the field. Scream to mill and further interruptions during your turn, bringing out Kaleido. Spell and Trap negate. Everything is negated because of Exterio. Like, there's literally almost nothing you can do. You need, like I mentioned, like Kaijus, which only solve half the problem. Forbidden Droplet, which unless you send all of your resources, can't really do anything. Like, geez, yeah. And, you know, we played through, I think, an Ash Blossom and an Nibiru there, 2 hand traps. Like, oh, this tier deck is so broken.